What's good on YouTube? It's time for that recap. If you follow us over here on X, we did post a little bit about our Discord choices this morning. We had it pinned at anything under yesterday's lows was going to dump to that 658 and potentially 655 area right here to the low side. I made a pre-market breakdown video this morning explaining the short before it happened in pre-market as well. You can check out the last video here on the channel. It's right here as well, linked on X. So we did a little over 1,200 cash on the micros today and maxed out all of the prop firm wins as well. So let's get into those confirmations on what we had seen come in for the morning. So we'll start over here on SPY, and we had an opportunity to see a nice little push back up here. You're going to see 661.25, this white level, right? And if you go to your daily chart, we do have a pretty big prior support, and we talked about in the last couple channels here as well as this guy. Now he needed to get swept up and come down to here, and if you watched my last video, I'll explain why we had these short targets made right here. You can look at the pre-market video, but that's a generalized doji area. We explained in the last video on why that gray box came in to be one of our short targets today. So for the remainder of that morning short here, so two things really saved the day here for our downside right out of the gate, down to our big T1 short and of course our T2. Now QQQ was the better hitting the target of the 1618, but we'll go over that in a sec. So the volatility index here was the saving grace of the day. So if we take a look here at the 5-minute, this is how we follow the VIX in our chat. And we had a gap up minor open right into yesterday's highs there. You see right this purple level, that's 23, about 54. Now it held straight sideways near yesterday's highs, breaking up into our long target we've been calling for a few days. If you missed a lot of the videos that we posted out, we said the VIX was going to come up to the golden pocket right here of 1017, and we were on the way after holding that 100 EMA daily, breaking out past a few other very big points of interest, especially this daily gap here. As long as the VIX was over that 1819, I was calling it to 2425. Now here's where the fun short really came to light with the volatility index. The volatility index showed us right from the open that this consolidation just held the 50 RSI. When this happens, it has a very strong opportunity to go hot or cold on the RSI and MACD. That's why these are so important to use, standard RSI and MACD. These things always give you the keys of the day. It's very simple. As long as the VIX is high too, it's extremely readable, right? So when the RSI does this right here, we have consolidated in the top channel, which means the RSI is above 50. We use that halfway point on MACDs, 50s, candle retraces, everything's 50%. So the RSI holding up this the entirety of the time was extremely clean at that 50. And then again, like we said, it has an opportunity to go hot. Now notice, holding that 50 support the entire time, not a single time in pre-market did this RSI shoot hot at all. So there was no impulse move to the upside. It was just waiting and waiting and waiting. MACD also signaled this around 5:30, 6 a.m. Central here. You've seen the buyer wave, the histogram wave of buys go a little higher here, and then of course got crunched and pushed as well. But the MACD is in the positive territory above the zero line, which is key. So let me show you the keys here that were very important. The break over yesterday's highs over the orange dash line. We snapped into that. We've seen this little press. And I said, as long as it holds yesterday's highs or the 100 EMA, we will shoot up to our GP target on SPY. We held yesterday's highs and the pre-market open perfectly, and we shot up. And we even called this 2584 being the top using the GP on the daily we just discussed. So I'll show you how I called the top of the day and the bottom of the day with the VIX. So first, the VIX's rally right here came almost all the way to the top of the GP pocket. Then we said if it comes down and holds support of 25, it will shoot back up to exactly 2582, 3 area for me, and that's the top of the GP. It did exactly that, and we called that in chat before it happened. Let's look at what that did in the market for us on QQQ. So we were shorting the QQQ all morning on the MNQ. And we always trade off the ETFs. So I'm trading off QQQ's movement on the NQ and MNQ, always the best way to do it. And this is what we had set up for the low. Okay, so the golden is from prior day high low, right? So yesterday's high, yesterday's low. If it cannot get over that 50 hump and look for that retest, we look for the downside, and we dropped it overnight, right? And it came into yesterday's lows, which was 599.87. Once we lost that, we had a magnet, right? And what do? We point yesterday's high low, 0 to the 100, and we point the extension to the downside, which is right here at 592.07. So we said that push, now watch very closely on the VIX, anything under yesterday's lows, I was short. So I fib out the first opening 5 minute, like always, and I track where these are going to lead to. Okay, now I have a overlapping gold from yesterday's high low on the QQQ extension and the first 5 minute 2618 at the same spot, right? And this is where it got interesting with the volatility index. The index came up, like you said, right here and almost filled the GP and pulled back down, right? And then it slowly grinded up and went for that last tick. Well, that last tick on our exact top call for the VIX today was about 10 a.m. And that's where the bottom of the market is going to come in, right here at 10 a.m. Right when we said the VIX was going to top, the market was going to hit our final short target right here, right? So that was the entirety of the opening morning short. Everything under yesterday's lows has a perfect extension. The only reason that we realized this and were able to call it ahead of time was the RSI on the volatility index. That is a very unique setup where no over purchased area on the RSI was done in pre-market at all. It waited till open and then had sky's the limit to the upside. So probability wise, it was going to drop yesterday's lows, come to an extension to the downside. Now there were two other things I'll go over here on how we predicted that bottom with the 1618 and the NQ as we kind of came into this, right? So we have a 30-30 way back here for the day, and we had some lows to take out here, right? So if you see the 30-minute chart here, we got these lows right here. We had already swept this one just a smidge, and that was this massive Monday gap open back mid-October, left that huge gap, filled, and then went nuts after. We still have 24,300 open from that gap day. But right now we're going to focus on this 24,420s level, and you'll see where we got that bounce again. So this candle was extremely specific on that 30, and I've been watching this candle for quite some time. And this is what we did with it. We fibbed this guy out. We backed up, and we discussed this in the Discord and said, okay, look at the rally off the 30, right? Look back here, high low, runs all the way up to 3618, breaks out of the 4, hits my crazy extension here that we don't talk about much because I can't teach you guys here at 666, down, 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 100 fib. It's just on the way down of trend, right? Every time it breaks a Fibonacci level, it magnets to the next pair. It breaks the 666, here's the 423, 36, bounced, right? Under, bounce, lower high. Cracks the 3618 right here, and 423 moves to the 2618. Bounce, lower high, not by much, but still lower high. Cracks down to the 1618. Bounce, lower high. Same fibs, same 30-minute, over and over and over again on trend. And today, for the first time in a long time, we have ran into that 100 again, right? So we had seen that bottom right there, and it swept a little bit lower. And we said it probably wasn't going to get the GP of that 30-minute near 24,300 yet. It was going to bounce. And why did we call that? Well, the same way we called the bottom. I didn't think NQ had the oomph to go down anymore because we were going to run into our two targets on the QQQ, which was, of course, yesterday's high to low, giving us the extension of 592.07, right where the bounce point was. If you remember, we drew this on the 5-minute just before. We do that 5-minute opening fib, high-low, whatever way it breaks. We just watch our extensions every day. And you can see that 2618 coming in at 591.77 matched with the gold. So we told our crew, I said, guys, there's a 10 a.m. is right here. We're probably going to get that slip. Don't short it unless you get a nice little pop because you don't want to short the low day consolidation just in case because crazy tweets happen, news happens. Can't plan for that. But there's no point to short this low. Wait for it to dip into the targets. And obviously our short target becomes a long entry scalp. That's what we like to play here. So as it popped in, swept the lows, hit both of our short targets via Fibonacci, and you guessed it, our typical Fibonacci system goes from anything you draw high-low. If it hits the 1618 extension, it generally returns to the 100 fib. That's the system we teach. The 100 fib, yesterday's lows, just happens to be located directly at 600. Big psychological magnet for the 666. So we had one other thing to help us here in the pre-market. We'll go over on ES just for fun. And this was one of the bigger levels, again, helping us with the short if you want to see some of my intraday stuff. So we were playing this back here in pre-market. Here's that really big open at 830. This was the guy right here from the low sweep, right? In the early session. So if you look at today's session, that was the low, and we swept lows right here and then reversed back up. When I see that, when I see a low and it breaks structure, it goes up and heads up a little bit, it leaves GPs. It leaves no tags open, right? So a lot of the time I come in here and I look at the 15 and the 5 minute on these, and then I assess our fibs, and then I jump into the 5 minute for confirmation of entries. So that's right here, 1:15 in the morning for that sweep, Central Time. So if I put a high-low right there, you're going to notice that there's no GP tag on that 15, which means since we've drawn a fib to this sweep low on that second 15 that broke back out right here at 1:15, you drew that here. There was no price action hitting the golden pocket. So it ran up, hit the 1618. What did we just discuss? After the 1618, the best case scenario is to return to the 100 and then continue trend. We've met the 2618. And then after the 2618 was hit, we weren't going any higher. We're getting stuffed, right? And then this is where the 5 minute comes in for me. I go to the 5 minute time frame off the 15 minute fibbies. I took an entry off the 5 right here on the short. And this is what we did in the pre-market. And why did I take that? Again, the best indicators in the world, MACD, RSI, pinned together. And if you know the speed differences between them, it is the only indicator you ever need. Tried and true. So here again is that 15 high-low, goes up to the 2618. Now let's take a peek at this 5 minute entry. During consolidation, it was trying for a few things. It was trying to hold that 100 EMA in the green right here. And it was trying to hold that 10 SMA, and it just could not do it, creating lower highs and one little lower low. But during the consolidation, all you got to do is look to the low, okay? Look to your oscillation indicators. Notice the RSI creating perfect lower high, lower lows. The MACD has crossed 3, 4 in the morning. I seen this building up when we got up 5:30, 6 a.m. We're looking at it here, and I'm like, oh, if a great risk to reward. As long as we short here, we risk a breakout of the 2618. It's going to go to the 3618 worst case scenario. So I was shorting up into here, and I was like, okay, well, I can manage that up to either the 200 SMA or the 3618. That's 15 points. My target is obviously back here at the 115 candle we drew the 15 minute from. That's the GP. So I'm shorting up here going, all right, as long as we break that 2618, we will go to the GP. Again, resulting in a beautiful 2-to-1, 32.56 to the downside, 0.5% on ES. And I would have risked a little bit more than that up there. And I probably would have shorted that too into the 3618 to be honest, but we didn't get that. We shorted here and wrote her down to the GP. So that was the last little move of pre-market. And then, of course, we've seen some extra weakness come in, hit our short targets. She rallied back up a little bit, and we'll see what happens next. If you want to see me do this stuff live, we do stream every single morning. Links in the description.